The history of slavery, how it began. Throughout the ages, the story of humanity has been one of triumphs and tragedies. Among the darkest of these chapters lies the history of slavery, a system of oppression stretching back to the earliest civilizations. This isn't just a story about labor or economics. It's a story of human lives shackled by power, greed, and despair. Today, we'll journey back through time to uncover how it all began and explore the echoes of slavery that still ripple through our world. Slavery did not originate as a grand design but as an evolution, born out of necessity and greed. At the dawn of civilization, when communities transitioned from hunting and gathering to farming, humanity faced a question: how do we produce more with limited resources? The answer for those ancient societies became horrifyingly simple: force others to work. In Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, the earliest records from over 4,000 years ago speak of war captives turned into laborers. These individuals, stripped of autonomy and dignity, became the first examples of systemic enslavement. Conquered soldiers, the poor unable to repay debts, and even criminals were often forced into this grim fate. As rulers sought to build cities, monuments, and agricultural empires, slavery became a cornerstone of progress. But with progress came a disturbing normalization of inequality, a social hierarchy where the value of a person could be reduced to their ability to serve. In ancient Egypt, the landscape was defined by towering pyramids and expansive temples, but their grandeur was built on the backs of enslaved individuals. These captives, often prisoners of war, toiled tirelessly under the desert sun. For them, life offered no hope of freedom or fairness, only relentless labor dictated by whip-wielding overseers. Moving to Greece, the birthplace of democracy, we encounter a chilling paradox. While Athens championed the idea of freedom and individual rights for its citizens, this ideal existed alongside a thriving system of slavery. Enslaved people, many of them war captives or born into bondage, fueled the economy and sustained the leisure of the elite. The Roman Empire, too, embraced slavery with ruthless efficiency. In Rome, it was not uncommon for entire populations captured during conquests to be reduced to servitude. Some were forced into gladiatorial combat, where they fought and died for the entertainment of crowds. Others toiled in mines or fields, enduring unimaginable hardships with little to no hope for liberation. For the enslaved, the question wasn't what joys life might bring, it was whether they could survive to see another day. How could such powerful civilizations, steeped in cultural and intellectual advancement, embrace a system so cruel? The answer lies in the stories societies told themselves, stories that justified the suffering of others. In many ancient cultures, religious beliefs were weaponized to endorse slavery. Some rulers claimed divine authority, positioning enslavement as part of the natural order. In other cases, economic arguments were invoked. The idea that society simply could not function without forced labor. Rulers and elites convinced themselves and others that the subjugation of one group was essential for the prosperity of another. Worse still, the dehumanization of enslaved people became a societal norm. Those in power invented reasons, be it cultural, ethnic, or economic, to see entire populations as less than human. This mindset allowed the ruling class to perpetuate their cruelty without confronting the moral implications. Yet, even in the face of unrelenting oppression, the human spirit fought back. History is marked by the courage of enslaved individuals who dared to resist their chains. One of the most famous examples of rebellion came in ancient Rome, led by Spartacus, a Thracian warrior who was enslaved and forced into gladiatorial combat. Refusing to accept his fate, Spartacus led a revolt that shook the Roman Empire to its core, gathering thousands of enslaved individuals in a bid for freedom. Though his uprising was ultimately crushed, it remains a symbol of defiance and courage in the face of overwhelming odds. There were quieter acts of resistance as well. Enslaved individuals found subtle ways to reclaim their humanity, preserving their cultures, telling stories, and supporting one another through unimaginable suffering. As ancient civilizations gave way to the medieval period, the institution of slavery evolved rather than disappeared. In Europe, feudal systems emerged, where serfs, while not explicitly enslaved, were bound to the land and obligated to serve their lords. Meanwhile, in other parts of the world, slavery continued in varied forms. In Africa and Asia, human bondage was woven into economic systems. Kingdoms and empires like the Songhai and Mongols relied on enslaved labor, often captured during conquests, to fuel their economies and expand their power. But the true global expansion of slavery began with exploration and colonization. The seeds sown in the ancient world grew into systems of transcontinental exploitation. This, however, would be a tale for a later chapter in history, a dark continuation of the practices first forged in the societies of old. As we reflect on history's great thinkers, we encounter a troubling contradiction. Many celebrated philosophers from ancient Greece and Rome, Aristotle among them, justified slavery, deeming it a natural institution. The thinkers who shaped entire civilizations and revolutionized human thought could not, or would not, imagine a world without enslavement. But what does this tell us? Perhaps it serves as a profound reminder. The legacy of slavery is not just in the systems it created, but in the mindset it perpetuated. As empires rose and fell, as laws changed and governments shifted, the echoes of slavery lingered, filtering into societal hierarchies, economic structures, and ideas about power. Slavery's history is not one we can ignore. The scars it left on humanity persist, influencing the inequalities we see even today. To confront it is to confront both the cruelty and resilience of the human spirit. It reminds us of what nations can achieve at the cost of others' freedom, but also of the potential for resistance, hope, and change. What can we learn from the beginnings of slavery? That power unchecked can rob people of their humanity, that dehumanization creates the conditions for sustained inequity, and perhaps most importantly, that while the past is riddled with injustice, humanity's evolution lies in its ability to reflect, to understand, and to do better. As we close this chapter on the origins of slavery, let us carry forward its lessons. Let us remember that behind every system of oppression are individuals with stories, struggles, and hope. The chains of the past remind us of where humanity has been, but also of where it must never return. And so, the journey begins with awareness and ends with action. Together, by confronting these uncomfortable truths, we honor the millions who lived and died under oppression, and build a world where no one must live in chains again.